aforementioned Philippe Reines, former advisor, or still an advisor, really, to Hillary Clinton. Good evening, Philippe. Appreciate you being here.
Hi, Ed. Thank you for having me, I think.
We're old friends, so this should go well. I want to get straight to that tweet about Senator Gillibrand and what you said. Ken Starr spent $70 million on a consensual sex act. Senate voted to keep President William Jefferson Clinton, but not enough for you, Senator Gillibrand. And we'll get to the rest of it in a second. First of all, you seem unhappy that Ken Starr had $70 million in unfettered power to investigate a president. So why are you cheering on Robert Mueller these days?
No, I don't think that's the point I was making. The point I was making, and thankfully I have more than 280 characters to do so because it's a pretty complicated subject, is what's happening now is that people are very bravely coming forward, whether it's Rose McGowan or Barbara Comstock or Lee Korfman, with accusations of things that they felt they could never come forward with before. That has taken a tremendous amount of bravery, and it's important. What happened with Bill Clinton is a complete false equivalency. There's no human being in the United States whose personal life, their infidelities, were looked at more than Bill Clinton. His accusers were afforded the opportunity to confront him. He was afforded the ability to defend himself. And my point about the $70 million is that it was thorough.
Okay, I'm going to give you the time to go through it. Let's pick it piece by piece, though. First of all, when you call Senator Gillibrand a hypocrite, are you admitting now that a lot of Democrats back in the late 90s did not call for President Clinton to resign over his relationship with an intern because they wanted him to stay in power? They wanted Democrats to keep power. Gillibrand wanted the Clinton money. She wanted the endorsements, so she didn't really speak her conscience.
I don't know why she chose yesterday. Part of me wants to give her the benefit of the doubt that she was baited by the New York Times. I don't think, to your viewers, I have to say much more than that about the Times. But her point was strange to me because she probably didn't come to this feeling and thought and position yesterday. Why she wouldn't have in the last 20 years vocalized it is strange to me. Nothing was stopping her. But what really was curious to me is why she didn't, what she didn't say, not what she did say. She didn't go on and say, I wish I had said something earlier. I regret not saying something earlier. And, you know, in the lead up to this, you talked about Democrats and Senator Gillibrand turning on the Clintons.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what happened. I think she turned to the Clintons. And that is just a false comparison.
Okay.
I have a feeling there are people watching right now who said, I am done with the Clintons. Stop talking about that.
Right. So,
and it was unnecessary for her to do that because, again, this is someone who had, I mean, this country had a reckoning over Bill Clinton's
okay, I want to press you, though.
behavior.
Isn't it, in fact, that there are Democrats like Senator Gillibrand, Donna Brazile with her book, they no longer fear the Clintons. And part of your tweet, part of the reason why you're angry is that top Democrats are saying to the Clintons, get off the stage.
I don't think so. I think what Donna wrote in her book, I'm not really sure what she was doing. I think more than anything, the Democratic Party and people who know Donna are just flat out confused by what she wrote, especially since what she wrote and then what she subsequently said on television didn't really
we're running out of time,
up.
so I've been giving you time on all these, but I want to press you. You said that Bill Clinton's accusers were heard. And you talked about this sexual harassment, movement around the country where people are saying women need to be heard. Has Secretary Clinton done any soul searching? Does she regret that she didn't let Juanita Broaddrick and other women be heard?
I think if she were sitting here, she would say the same thing I'm saying, which is that Ken Starr, I mean, you don't have to believe
Okay, let's not go back to Ken Starr. I want to give you a chance. But has she done soul searching? She did not let Juanita Broaddrick, because Ken Starr was about Lewinsky. Hillary Clinton. Go ahead.
Ken Starr looked into Juanita Broaddrick. Juanita Broaddrick gave Ken Starr a deposition where she said nothing happened. So I think it's important to have those facts. Ken Starr, I think we can all agree, was not looking to protect Bill Clinton. The point about $70 million in multiple years is that if he could find something, he would have found it. He did tell us everything he found. The names beforehand, it's not right to, it is not correct to say a name like Juanita Broaddrick
so Hillary
came
Clinton,
up only after
Hillary
2000.
Clinton has not done any soul searching. She doesn't have any regrets about any of the female accusers were beaten up on, verbally by anyone associated with the Clintons over the years?
I think she's addressed this many times, and I guess that's my point, is that she's dealt with this, first of all, as a wife,
yes,
and then as a public figure 20 years ago.
Okay, I want to shift gears to something I mentioned.
And I think again, the point that you're making, that there should be some kind of renewed soul searching or reckoning, that is absolutely appropriate when it comes to Harvey Weinstein,
right,
or when it comes to Roy Moore. It is not necessary when it comes to Bill Clinton, because in 1998, we all lived through the greatest reckoning in American political history.
Actually, I was going to shift gears, but when you mentioned Roy Moore, I know it was interesting. I believe it was yesterday, after Ivanka Trump had said about Roy Moore that there's a special place in hell for people who prey on children. You tweeted on November 16th, quote, "She took her sweet time. She didn't say Moore should drop out." So by your logic, isn't Senator Gillibrand right, at least, that if there's alleged misconduct, Bill Clinton should have stepped aside? You're saying Roy Moore should step aside. You haven't litigated it. You don't know what's true and what's not. And yet yesterday you went out there, Philippe, and you said that Ivanka Trump should have told him to step aside. And instead you said about her, quote, "There's a special place in hell for those who exist only to cover for Donald's sins," meaning the president. Aren't you being a hypocrite as well?
I don't think so. I think I was making 2 points. One, the larger point is that for the last year and a half, starting with the campaign, we've seen Ivanka play a role where she really was mostly enabling and then covering for her father. They trot her out when, and yesterday was a perfect example of this, the president, for whatever reason, probably political, and he doesn't want to lose in
But hang on, the president
twice.
said in Asia, if the allegations are true, Roy Moore should step aside. And then you say Ivanka Trump is, quote unquote, trotted out. She is a woman in her own right. If you allow other women to speak out who are Democrats, whether it's Senator Gillibrand or anyone else, why can't Ivanka Trump speak on her own 2 feet? Why do you have to demean her by saying she was trotted out?
Well, I think Ivanka demeans herself with her behavior, but
what behavior?
I think
she said that anyone who mistreats children deserves a special place in hell. Do you agree with her?
Yes.
Okay, so how did she do something wrong?
The deepest, hottest place in hell, absolutely.
Okay, so you agree with Ivanka Trump, so why did you attack her? That's my question.
I agree with her, but she didn't go one step further. And the point I'd make that you're not making is that the hierarchy of the Republican Party wants this guy to go. They've been spending the last week thinking of every conceivable plan to get rid of him. The Trumps, including Ivanka, are out of step. And the other point is she was speaking because her father wasn't. And I know what you just quoted, but everyone has been basically holding their breath for President Trump to say something, and he really hasn't.
He said in Asia that if the allegations are true, he should step aside. That wasn't good enough for you?
It's not a matter of what's good enough for me. The people of Alabama are going to decide.
But when there were allegations against Bill Clinton, against Bill Clinton, you wanted them, hey, it should be fairly litigated. So in the case of Roy Moore, nobody here is defending him, but this happened 30, 40 years ago, and it hasn't been litigated. So why are you just saying throw him aside? You don't know the truth.
I think the distinction is that Roy Moore, his victims, his accusers have never been heard until now. They deserve to be heard, and there's a problem in that unless I'm missing something, no one in the state of Alabama is in any way investigating these crimes because they're old.
Alleged crimes,
now,
sure.
The only time he is going to be held accountable is first at the voting booth on December 12th, and then second, if the Republican leadership is to be believed, when he is sat and they try to expel him, which is something I'll believe when I see. But the larger point, Ed, is that people need to have their day, both people who are accusing people of crimes and both the people who are being accused.
Okay, I went over time already.
Roy Moore has not had that. Al Franken has not had that. Bill Clinton has had that in spades.
I've tried to let you have a lot. I want to play one more clip because I said this at the top of the show. Here's what Hillary Clinton said in the last presidential debate.
That's horrifying. Every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him. That is not the way our democracy works.
Philippe, very simple last question. Here we are more than 1 year later, and Hillary Clinton is saying Donald Trump was not legitimately elected.
She accepted his election
No, she's not
2
accepting
a.m.
it
in the
now.
morning, election night. I was there when she spoke to him.
Right. And a
what
year
she is
later,
saying-
she's saying it was not legitimate.
No, what she is saying is that what happened is something that can happen again. And it's unfortunate that the president won't take it seriously until he's at the wrong end of it. If she had been president, if she had been elected, she would have, and she learned that the Republicans, or excuse me, the Russians helped her, she would have been furious. She would have said, this is unacceptable. We are going to figure this out. We're going to go after them.
So,
President Trump has not done that because he was on the right end of it. And that's a problem because the Russians want to disrupt, and they're going to disrupt who's in office. And I would think the Republican majorities in Congress, the governorships, and the White House would be concerned because they are the biggest targets for a country hell-bent on disrupting us.
Giving you a lot of time. Appreciate you coming on. I hope you'll come back and you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Anytime, Ed. Thanks,
you. Thanks, Philippe.